Shalom Yashrala, this your brother Dawada, coming back as this is truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of great millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you. I can push in this truth and sincerity on the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here topic, which was inspired by this here article real quick. Just touching back in on some of these other prophecies that's at hand, dealing with the wars and the rumors of wars, all right? Because we know that these things are going to all culminate in what they call World War III, all right? And then ultimately these thermonuclear missiles are going to be shot off, all right? And then the Lord's going to come back and deliver us all at the same time, But we just had, a couple of days ago that explosion or that bomb that went off over in Lebanon, Beirut. Looking at how that was and all the different videos and so on and so forth, you get a glimpse, for people who think that nukes aren't real and all the videos is doctored or whatever, whatnot, you get to see what, a very small bomb could do, you know what I'm saying? And that, that bomb is very, very, very small comparably to what Esau has, and they have also, different type of nuclear weapons that, that they can basically, launch off or whatever, whatnot, they can explode them or whatever, whatnot. And there's really no traces of radiation with them, They're very small yield bombs or whatever, whatnot, but can do a lot of damage. But nevertheless, it says lethal precision. Watch Russia's Islander M missile blast into the sky during training. I guess the videos are corrupt, but nevertheless, just getting into their weaponry. The Russian Ministry of Defense has published a spectacular video of the Islander M missile launched during a special operations training at the country's Kaputsin Yar rocket launch and development site. The footage shows multiple rockets being fired into the sky aimed at targets 90 kilometers away. State-of-the-art Orlan-10 drones were used to track the missile's target. The Islander M is a ballistic missile system used by Russian armed forces since 2006 and is an essential part of the country's defense capabilities. The Islander, which is entirely domestically produced, has a range of up to 500 kilometers and is highly accurate. All right. So one of the things that people aren't realizing, a lot of different nations, they all have weapons and so on and so forth, but you only really have two major players when it comes to these weapon development. You have Russia and America. All right. China's coming out with different technologies and this and that, but it's really Russia and America when it comes to, like the scriptures say, Esau was blessed with the sword. All right. Both the Russians and these Americans are both Edomites. But however, according to the scriptures, the Russians are going to wind up taking out these Edomites over here in America. All right. So you can see here how they have this hypersonic missile as well, too, But we're going to jump into some scriptures real fast. In fact, let me start here in Ezekiel. Salaki, give me a second for this here to load up. There we go. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. It says, I'm going to start at verse, I'll start at the top. It says, "And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith Yahweh power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal." All right, this is going into Russia. "And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth." All right, going into the hooks into the jaws, you have to understand about, back in the times when you had what they called the USSR, Russia was a great conglomeration of nations or whatever, whatnot, just like how you have America and NATO, all right? But nevertheless, after, the Cold War and so on and so forth, Russia so-called broke into smaller nations, more or less to say, But now, nevertheless, and then also they basically bankrupted Russia, their infrastructure, basically Russia turned into a third world country, more or less to say, long story short. But nevertheless, since around the time that Vladimir Putin got into office, I believe around he was in office around the time George Bush was in office. But nevertheless, since then, they brought back their economy, their infrastructure, their military, all right, and so on and so forth. Now they're international traders and exporting energy and oil and things like that. Not only that, but they're also exporting weapons, all right. So, they had the so-called nuclear proliferation, basically when they were trying to get rid of nukes and everything like that. But now, nevertheless, the Lord has put the spirit on these nations and these nation leaders to start developing, well, especially Russia, to start developing these weapons again, all right, for a certain point and a certain purpose, all right. But nevertheless, as you also see, as Russia is coming back together with these other nations, it's also, as we're going to read, becoming a guardian to these nations, all right. So this is going into putting those hooks back into the jaws of Russia, because like I said, they broke up from being the USSR, but now you're seeing these nations come back together again, all right. It says, I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all them handling swords. All right, so it's going to keep going into the shields and the helmets, the bucklers, the shields, and so on and so forth. The armor, all these things are basically a representation of armor. All right, you know, in today's terms, you know, you have a shield that you would defend yourself from like, you know, close combat, swords hitting your shield or hitting you, or nevertheless somebody shooting bow and arrows at you, you know. Just like in the movie 300, where they said that he said our arrows will blot out the sun, and they was like, we'll fight in the shade. And when the Persians wound up shooting off all those arrows, the Spartans wound up hiding behind their shields, and then those shields took the brunt of the impact, you know, so they weren't hurt, right? When you fast forward to today and you fast forward to technology, this is exactly the same thing you have. You know, those bow and arrows are now intercontinental ballistic missiles, you know, and the shields are basically missile defense systems, all right. And this is the main thing that you see Russia exporting across these other nations, is these missile defense systems. But nevertheless, they're also developing offensive weapons that they're keeping for themselves, you know. Verse 5 says, Persia, which is Iran, Ethiopia, Libya with them, all of them with shields and helmets, Gomer and all his bands, and House of Tomagar of the north quarters and all his bands, and many people with thee. All right, so this is a conglomeration of nations that's coming together under the guise of Russia. Verse 7, it says, be thou prepared and prepare thyself. You know, like I said, since Vladimir Putin got in office, this is what they've been doing. They've been bringing their country, they've been reviving their country, and then also their military, making it strong again. It says, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, be thou a guard unto them. So not only is Russia preparing themselves, they're also preparing these other nations to bring on this conglomeration of nations, to bring on this attack on America. All right, so let me go from there to the book of Jeremiah. Jeremiah 51:11, it says, make bright the arrows, you know. And we really go into that, you know, as what are you putting lights on the arrows? No, you're making these so-called, what they have, smart bombs. All right, you look at like you know, basically the difference between what they call the Satan 1 and the Satan 2, or the Saramat 1 and the Saramat 2 missile, all right, which is Russia's intercontinental ballistic missile, is the Satan 2 missile can sit there and change its trajectory rate midair. You know what I'm saying? Because normally the way they would track these things is they would launch them off and they would be able to calculate from the arc where it would land at, you know, because once it's on its path, it's not going to change direction. Just like when you shoot a gun, you know, the bullet is pretty much going to follow its intended path, you know. But nevertheless, the Satan 2 missile is able to pick up that it's being tracked or whatever, whatnot, and change its positions and wind up, how you say, evading basically like a missile defense system, all right? So it says, make bright the arrows, you know, these smart missiles. Gather the shields, all right? The S-300, S-400, S-500, so on and so forth. All right, Yahweh has raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, all right, going back into these Russians. You know, again, they were like a third world country after the end of the Cold War. They so-called was falling off and you know, becoming docile or whatever, whatnot. But now you've seen them stand back up, you know. It says, for his device, all right, and what device do he have? These thermonuclear missiles, all right? His device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahweh and the vengeance of his temple, all right? So, hey, what land do we know is going to be completely annihilated like that, man? All right, that nothing else is going to dwell there, all right? It's going to be America. So the device that these Russians have against America is their thermonuclear missiles, and we see it being developed as we speak, all right? So let me jump down a little bit. Verse 28, prepare against her the nations, like we just read, these all these nations together with Russia. Prepare against her the nations with the king of the Medes, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. And the land shall tremble and sorrow, for every purpose of Yahweh shall be performed against Babylon, to make the land of Babylon a desolation without inhabitants. All right, so we know that the one land that's going to be desolate without inhabitants is going to be America, right? Now, who do you see at the end of this Russian conflict ultimately? Who are they preparing with their military for? All right, it's America. All right. Let me keep reading verse 30. The mighty men of Babylon have forborne to fight. They have remained in their holds, and their might have failed. They became as women. They have burned her dwelling places. Her bars are broken. All right, and this is what's going to happen when these missiles start being shot off to America, man, and these explosions take place. Verse 31. One post shall run to meet another, and one messenger to meet another, to show the king of Babylon that the city is taken at one end. And at the passages are stopped, and the reeds have they burned, and with fire the men of war are frightened. So, just reading and spiritually extrapolating through that, man. Not saying that all the missiles gonna all touch down and explode all at the same time, man. They might start coming in as waves. They might start touching down in certain cities on the East Coast. Like first we get to see New York get blown up or something like that, watching it on the news while we all sorrowing with that. Another state get hit, then another state get hit, then another state get hit, just like the Twin Towers attack, man. Both planes didn't hit the towers all at the same time, man. You seen one plane hit the tower, everybody was looking at that and shock and awe when the other plane came in and hit that tower, man. All right, and when people were looking at both buildings burning, then one tower wound up falling, and when people was in awe over that, the other building fell, man. All right. So hey, when people are over there reporting, oh my God, a plane just hit the World Trade Center, boom, another plane hits. It's gonna be like that, right? Let me go. Matter of fact, while I'm right here, let me go up to the top. Jeremiah 51, verse 1 through 3. Thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them, that rise up against me a destroying wind. All right, looking at that Lebanese video, all right, of that bomb, multiple views and angles of it, you seen that destroying wind that came through and was knocking out windows up to 15 miles away. All right. And I will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land for the day of trouble. They shall be against her round about. All right. Against him that bendeth, let the archers bend his bow, and against him that lifted up his brigandine, spare ye not her young men, destroy her utterly all her host. All right, so going back into this fanners that's going to fan the land is talking about what? Those archers that bend the bow. What are the archers that bend the bow? All these nations with missiles, man, missile capability. They're going to use every last missile over here on America. Because why? We're going to, at the end of all be all, we're going to wind up going to go find all the rest of the weapons and burning them up anyway. So they might as well use them, man. And once you let off one nuke, you got to let them all fly. At least you might not have time to let your shit off, All right. But nevertheless, hey, man, that destroying wind, as you can see, like in that Lebanese video, man, that bomb went off and there was a lot of pressure and just everything was turning into dust and smoke around here, man. Buildings and everything was being blown back and everything like that. They had inside views of people that was miles away and their windows just, boom, blew in and just, dust was everywhere, man. They was miles away. They was nowhere even near the blast, man. All right. This is Revelation 6, verse 12. And I beheld, and lo, he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth, the hair, and the moon became as blood. All right, so what could cause these things to happen? All right, so if there was a, where is that at? Actually, I can get that. It's in a couple chapters. Let me just read a couple chapters later. But nevertheless, I'll read this and I'll go there. But nevertheless, it says, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. All right. So when you have like these 200 million missiles raining down here on America all at one time, man, it's going to make the earth reel to and fro, man, like a drunkard. All right. As you seen over there, man, the whole ground in that vicinity was shaking, It says, and the sun became black as sackcloth. Just like when you seen the World Trade Center, that smoke that ascended up forever, man. Just imagine 200 million missiles touching down over here, man. It was what they call a nuclear holocaust. And the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell upon the earth, even as a fig tree casts her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. That's talking about, those missiles dropping down on the earth, man. And the heavens departed as a scroll as it rolled together. Every mountain and island were moved out of their place. All right, and it departed as a scroll. This is like you take an old school scroll and you just put it on a table and unroll it. Talking about that mushroom cloud, and you look at that video again in slow motion, you see that burst of energy just go out, and it was just like boom, it expanded from one small spot and just pushed everything out. That destroying wind again. All right. Verse 15, and the kings of the earth and the great men and the rich men and the chief captains and the mighty men and every bondman and every free man hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Ultimately, when these missiles start raining down and when these chariots start showing up, man, these people are going to start running to their bunkers, man. But, the ones that survived this here attack, man, it's only to their own demise, because they're going to be the first fruits to go in captivity, Going back to Revelation, this is Revelation 9, I think it is, and verse 14. All right, saying to the sixth angel which had the trumpet, loose the four angels which were bound in the great river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay a third part of men. All right. And that's basically going into the destruction of Esau, you know, because you got what? The sons of the righteous, the Israelites, the sons of the wicked, the Edomites, and then you got basically the sons of men, the rest of these other nations, you know, the extras in the movie, you know. But this is coming down to destroy Babylon, you know, mainly these Edomites. All right. Verse 16, and the number of the army of horsemen were 200,000 thousands, and I heard the number of them. Going into 200 million nuclear missiles, man, or nuclear warheads, you know. And some people say, oh, there's nowhere near that many nuclear bombs on the earth. Well, when they count them, they count the vehicles that carry the warheads. All right. When you look at those big ass missiles, that's not like when you see Russia riding around with them trucks with them big ass 4 missiles or the 2 missiles on the back. That's not the nuclear bomb, bro. That's the vehicle that's going to take them things. You know, you might see one of those trucks with just 4 tubes on there or just 2 tubes, but in each one of those tubes, it's got a rocket in there, and each one of those rockets can hold up to like 15 different warheads, man. So you may just be looking at a truck with 2 tubes on the back, but it's holding like 30 warheads, and just those 2 before they reload, man. All right. So nevertheless, you know, going into these things, when these 200 million touch down, man, it's going to leave a devastating mark on the earth, man. The whole earth is going to reel to and fro, man. All right. And then that smoke is going to ascend up, and it's going to cause a nuclear holocaust, man. All right. So what you seen in Lebanon wasn't really nothing. Continuing on, verse 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision of them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire and adjacent and brimstone in the heads of horses. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouth issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And by these were the third part of men killed, by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouth. For their power is in their mouth, and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Again, this is just breaking down the different pieces of these ICBM missiles, man. Like I just said. So it says, for their power is in their mouth. All right, the mouth is talking about these nuclear warheads, like the tip of it. When you look at those missiles, it's only the tip of it is the dangerous part. Just like a bow and arrow, you know, only the tip is gonna go inside of you and do some real damage. The long part, the body of it, is for flight and stabilization, you know, and then the tail part is more or less for guidance and direction. So it says, for their power is in their mouth. All right, these warheads, what they call them. And in their tails, for with their tails, they were like unto serpents. This is how they're going to be moving around. You see a snake and they start moving around or whatever, whatnot. Let's say you have a snake on the beach or in the sand. You start seeing this path and this trail. Just like when you see these missiles launch off, you see that smoke trail that follows behind them. All right. And had heads, and with them they do hurt. Talking about these nuclear warheads. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, and yet repented not of the works of their hands, they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and wood, which neither can see nor walk, neither repented of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornications, nor their thefts. You know, and ultimately, hey, like I said, the ones that wind up remaining is they're going to wind up going into captivity, being the first fruits, you know. But I just want to touch on this, showing, you know, that the wars and rumors of wars are still going on as we speak, man. All right, so let me read that real quick. Matthew 24 and verse 6. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, and see not that you be troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in diverse places. And all these are the beginning of sorrows. So going into that, man, this is just the beginning, but it's going to all culminate in what? The destruction of Babylon, a.k.a. America, via thermonuclear missiles, man. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying unto the elect. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that taught us this truth and that rule well. And salutation and much love for you. I can push this truth and sincerity in the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.